It's Wednesday, the 13th of June, 2012. I'm Alex Jones. Thank you for joining us for another original edition of INFOWARS Nightly News. Straight ahead.
Tonight, zombies, deniers, sociopaths, schemers, and protectors. The 5 dominant personalities you'll encounter in a world gone mad. Then, a chart that shows the Bilderberg Group's connection to everything in the world. Plus, a new poll shows that the U.S. drone program is very unpopular around the world, with one clear exception. The majority of the American people approve. And Alex Jones talks with Lloyd Chapman and Chuck Baldwin.
If you're going to break the yoke of this chain that we're in, you're going to have to do it suddenly. You're going to have to do it violently, and you're going to have to do it in a manner in which you're unwilling to accept the compromises of the status quo, and you are demanding that people rise up for a cause and a principle of righteousness. And the people accept the call, they see it, they rise up, and they bring that restoration, whatever it is, to the culture, to the community.
That's up next, the INFOWARS Nightly News.
Again, thank you for joining us. Huge show lined up tonight. We've got Lloyd Chapman of the American Small Business League showing how the globalists are trying to shut down small businesses that supply 90% of the jobs in this country. Talk about deindustrialization. This is it. And we got Chuck Baldwin joining us to talk about Rand Paul. He's the guy that Ron Paul endorsed for president when he lost the Republican primary in 2008. Chuck Baldwin in the explosive interview coming up. First off, I'm glad the Business Insider picked up on this because we saw this map. I looked at it. It's incredibly accurate. Using computers, the researcher was able to connect the Bilderberg members, the 125 or so and their minions, to every major Fortune 500 company, right down into government, academia, you name it. The map is amazing. So computers are being used as a double-edged sword for liberty, not just oppression and tyranny. And you look at it, the 125 members or so, and the interlocking directorates of the Fortune 500, it's clear they want the world for themselves. They're not free market. As John D. Rockefeller said, competition is a sin. And the article goes on, but perhaps it's a compelling argument for why the meetings should be public. Absolutely, because most of these companies are living off government contracts, shutting down their competition, and using government to also go out there and create regulations that shut down their competitors, but that they themselves are exempt from. And you notice when we show the video that we're giving you the WordPress site that originally did this computer breakdown research. Amazing information. In fact, as of showtime tonight, 7 o'clock Central, Kurt Nimmo just got the tax filings of the groups that fund Bilderberg, that actually pay for the conference. And it's the big Federal Reserve member banks, of course. That article is also just up at Infowars.com via Kurt Nimmo. Speaking of other breaking news, continuing a week after Bilderberg aftermath, where David Rockefeller didn't show up and some other bigwigs didn't show up. It's really starting to fall apart because you can't have criminal activity if there's a spotlight on it. Exclusive, Bilderberg 1966 data dump, the war on nationalism exposed. We scanned some of the 300-plus pages of leaked, restricted, not-for-publication documents from the 66 meeting. Now they're all up at Infowars.com. And the article, exclusive, Bilderberg 1966 data dump, the war on nationalism exposed. And that's all they talk about is how horrible nationalism is. And why? Doesn't mean countries or governments are perfect. They don't want any government. They want a global government over what your so-called government, where they write the laws that they're exempt from to totally control you. And they are so upset over the fact that in a nationalistic system in history, you have a tendency of the people's will being exercised and freedom being engaged in. Countries aren't perfect, but they're firewalls. What if there weren't countries? There have been global, EU world governments for Hitler to take control over. The Soviets. The Soviets wanted a world government. They don't want firewalls. It's like a ship's bulkheads. Water comes in one, but it's got bulkheads. It doesn't flood the rest. That's why you want diversity. That's why you want different countries. I'll tell you right now, I've been in different places around the world, and the U.S. is the best I've found so far. Europe's too expensive. It's beautiful, but Latin America's beautiful, but there's so much crime and poverty. The globalists want to have poverty to control people. My point is there's nowhere to run. But it is good if there's an emergency to have someplace to run. That is basically the firewall. And again, this is teleprompter-free news. So you get statements like, there's nowhere to run, but you got to have countries to run to because there's got to be a place to run. My point is there's tyranny everywhere, but if stuff gets really bad, it's better to jump out in the middle of the dark somewhere than, be stuck with a New World Order coming down on you. So that's some hillbilly poetry right there at you. All right, let's continue away from Bilderberg ahead of our guest. Short news segment tonight because we've got an hour and a half coming up, I think we've scheduled with our guest. Health panel talks about wider food ban. This is Fox New York, and it's official. They want to ban popcorn and milk drinks, and not just 16-ounce soft drinks. See, sugar is evil, but if you want corn syrup full of mercury and lead, if you want aspartame that eats holes in your brains, if you want GMO, if you want mercury-laced shots, and 1 in 58 having autism from 1 in 25,000, if you want 10,000 increase in pediatric cancer, 2,000 plus increase in breast cancer, that's all healthy and fine. And as everybody starts dying, they're going to blame it on normal stuff like beef and chicken. And oh yeah, they've come out, that's coming next, that meat should be outlawed to eat. It's real bad for you. Actually, it's associated with the fact that human brains keep growing and growing and growing. Back when our ancestors didn't get very much meat, well, we were pretty stupid. Now, the truth is the brain is made up, the solid part, it's 70% water. The 30% that is solid, 91% is cholesterol. We have electrochemical computers, and we need it. We need essential fatty acids. We need it. And you need it from plants, you need it from animals. Yeah, is fish better than beef? Yeah, it is. We're overfishing that. Well, I'm now going off into a diatribe, as I always do. So don't try to get that popcorn and a Coke when you go to the movies. But you can eat BT corn that's got live pesticide in it that they engineered the plant to grow, so if bugs eat it, they die. We covered those reports a few months ago where the Associated Press was saying there need to be more. Monsanto says farmers are cheating and planting only their BT corn. There needs to be refuges for corn just for the bugs to eat, or all the bugs are going to die. We can't have no bugs. We just want to kill you, the people, slowly, painfully. For God's sakes, have some respect for the bugs and plant some corn for them to eat. Only you are supposed to eat this. And bugs are given a choice, pigs, you name it, not just bugs. They won't eat it. So there is that crazy report. And this is another amazing story. U.S. government study. Humans are national security threat to oceans and our planet. This has finally been put out. A new study published in Nature Climate Change, even though it's been disproven. I mean, climate's always changing. Pay us money, give up your rights, the climate changes, asserts that warming of the world's oceans has everything to do with the effects of man. This scientific research has climate change alarmists excited over new ways to direct man-made climate change into social meme. Well, yeah, they want the UN Law of the Sea Treaty, so anytime you do something on a river, a lake, they say that's part of it. It's world government over 75% of the water. Well, the ocean's 75, 1%'s fresh, so I'm sorry, 76% of the water. And who runs the UN? Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, same guys that get the banker bailouts that want to raise your taxes and call you rich if you're making $125,000 a year. We have identified a human-induced fingerprint and observe estimates of upper ocean warming on multi-decimal timescales. So now your boat propeller is evil because it warms the ocean. Funny, there's more life in warmer areas. Meanwhile, though, there is overfishing in the ocean, but nothing's being done about that. No, they just want to say humans are bad, pay us a tax to use it. Leave it simple. It doesn't affect any of the globalist industries that are actually causing environmental problems. You want to frack and pump poison to people's water? Do it. You want to cut down trees, in old growth forests? Do it. You want a GMO and let it spread? That's fine. But darn it, let's tax what plants breathe, carbon dioxide. Holy mackerel. The sun goes up and down and how much resonance it puts off, how much heat. But the UN, they had a vote 2.5 years ago at Copenhagen, and they said, we have voted the sun does not affect climate and the heat of the planet. Well, let me tell you something. If you think we're that stupid, we deserve to be your slaves. The sun doesn't affect the climate. Really, when we're pointed away from it in the winter, it gets real cold. I thought that was Pluto's far away. It's like absolute zero. It's like when I had Rothschild, the heir to the Rothschild fortune on, because he had a book out where polar bears are drowning on the front. You know, they can't swim. Pay him money's the answer. The Rothschilds own the big climate exchange on record and pay their minions like Al Gore and people. And they said in there, I said, well, wait a minute. The ice caps of Mars are melting. He said, well, that's because Mars is closer to the sun than the Earth. And I said, no, it's not. It's Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. And he said, no, it's not. And laughed because he thought my audience was general zombies that would just believe it. Again, the ether the tyrants swim in. Their ocean is your ignorance. So drain the swamp. Stop being ignorant today. I'm not that smart, folks. I got into factoids, news, history. I decided reality was important instead of sports or how to act cool or baseball cards. You have areas in your mind to learn complex systems for survival. You have to integrate and make your hobby being informed and involved and studying systems. Then you will be empowered. Or you'll be slaves with people that put cancer viruses in your vaccines and deadly radioactive isotopes and fluoride in your water. I mean, you know, truth is definitely stranger than fiction. Here's a new poll out by Kurt Nimmo. U.S. citizens approve of drone killings they believe of al-CIA to al-Qaeda people. But if you look at an international poll, people disagree, and Americans don't want drones used against them. And so that's the message. Do not be idiots. Skynet is for you. The globalists hate you a lot more than they even hate the Iraqis. That's why they're paying $20 billion plus to ship General Motors out of the country. In 17 of 20 countries, more than half disapprove of U.S. drone attacks targeting extremist leaders and groups and nations such as Pakistan. Notice they never call people that are supposedly killers. It's an extremist. So they can then legally call you, because you're protesting tyranny, an extremist. So a very, very dangerous precedent indeed. All right. We've got one more big piece of news here before we go to break and come back with our first guest, Mr. Chapman, and then we're going to have Chuck Baldwin on. I saw this morning at INFOWARS.com. It comes to us from naturalnews.com. And zombies, deniers, sociopaths, schemers, and protectors. He breaks it down into 5 types, the first 4 being bad, the protectors being good. I would just add that there are fake nanny state protectors who try to take on that and basically henpeck you and stuff, but don't worry about real threats. And the state wants to have the position of the only protectors when they're actually a combination of the zombies, deniers, sociopaths, and schemers, with above them, though, the psychic vampire. In fact, we went with Mike Adams' breakdown, but we should have created that. I should have told you to create a pyramid with at the top of it is the psychic vampires who don't like anybody doing well. They see it as a threat against them and love ugliness. Like called a beautiful catastrophe is what I would call it. I don't see it as beautiful, but that's the mindset that these people swim in. So here you have it. First off, you have the zombies. And these are people put into a mind-numbed, induced television trance, Prozac trance, cognitive capabilities, they're insane, moral compass non-existent, desired agenda, self-entertainment, worship nothing, typical dress rags. When you are not looking, they will eat your face. And that is what the public is starting to move towards, mind-numbed zombies. Let's move along here to the second type, deniers, or the trendy know-it-all. If they just think if they deny what's happening in front of their face or accept the tyranny, everything is going to be okay. Cognitive capabilities, medium to low, moral compass, malleable, does whatever the group tells them to, thinks that there's safety in being a mindless idiot. Desired agenda, get along, fit in, be popular. So if they tell them it's popular to run off a cliff, if you tell them to slit their throat, that it's Britney Spears did it, they'll do it. Worships material wealth. And material wealth's okay if it's at the top of your pyramid. And fashion, cars.